Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is crave. Let's take a moment and look at the definition of this verb. The verb crave has one primary meaning, and that is to feel a powerful desire for something. So when many people think of this verb, their mind goes to food and having a strong desire to eat something that maybe is sweet or salty or that has some type of quality. Maybe even food from a specific restaurant or that is cooked by someone you know and love. Now, this verb can extend beyond food, but again, the idea here is that there is a very strong desire. And some people might interpret that as both a want and a need for something. For now, you should know that crave is a regular verb. To make the progressive form of this verb, what you're going to do is drop the E because we have a vowel consonant E word before we add ing. That forms craving. The past tense and participle form of this verb can be made by just adding D since this verb already ends in an E. Now our base verb, crave, ends with a voiced consonant sound, the V sound. This means that the ED ending is just going to make a D sound. So I'm not going to add an extra syllable as I say it. The past tense and participle forms should sound like this: craved, craved. Okay. Now you might be happy to know there are no additional phrasal verbs for us to study or learn today. So instead, we can do a little verb tense practice. Today, I thought we would review the past perfect and the simple future with a focus on be going to. Let's start with the past perfect. We use this verb tense to describe a completed action. But what makes it a little different than just the simple past tense is that we are trying to stress that this action occurred before a certain period in time or before another action. So when we go to make the past perfect, the two-letter P's in the name of that verb tense can help you remember that you will need two parts to the verb, right? So in the affirmative, we'll have the subject of our sentence. Then we're going to use the past form of have, which is had, and then we use that participle form of the verb. And since crave is a regular verb, the participle is exactly the same as the past tense. Let's take a look at an affirmative example in the past perfect. The athlete had craved for recognition and sought out bigger markets in which to play. Okay? So here the desire is maybe to be more well known, maybe to be able to make larger amounts of money through endorsements, right? So this desire existed, right? And as a result of it, right, the person goes to look for bigger markets, which might be bigger cities, bigger communities in which to play their sport. Now let's talk about making a negative past perfect sentence. To do this, again, we start with our subject. We're going to use had not and then the participle. Okay? Might see the contraction hadn't as well. That's in my example here. She hadn't craved animal products while eating a vegan diet. There's certain people that report this, that once they change their diet so that they're not eating milk, meat, things of that nature, animal products, right? Some don't feel a desire for it, right? And that's what we're describing here in the negative. Let's talk about making a yes or no question in the past perfect. To do this, start with had, then you're going to use your subject, and then the participle form the verb. Here's my last past perfect example. Had you craved these foods before becoming pregnant? Okay. So some people report that what sounds good, the food that appeals to them, changes while they are growing another human being inside of them. And so that's what the question there is asking about. Now let's move on and talk a little bit about the simple future. Today we're going to focus on making sentences with be going to. This is really common as people discuss their plans. Might be some other ways you encounter this, but plans is generally the focus. When we go to make sentences in the simple future using be going to, we must pay attention to our subject. And that's because we're going to be using the present form of be in this verb tense. This means if your subject is I, then we'll use am, going to, and the base verb. But if the subject is you, we, or they, use are, A-R-E, going to, and the base verb. And finally, if your subject is he, she, or it, then you want to use is going to, and the base verb. Let's take a look at an affirmative example. If we are not consistent in our diet as far as eating throughout the day, our body is going to crave a spike in sugar. Okay, so our simple future here is coming in the second clause of the sentence. Our body, that's one thing, it is going to crave, right? It's going to desire things that contain sugar. Now let's talk about making a negative sentence in the simple future. To do this, we're going to start with a subject. We use the form of be that matches, then not, then going to, and the base verb. Here's another example. The students aren't going to crave more homework, right? I don't know that I've met many students that have this strong desire, give me more to do outside of class, right? So that sentence is a little silly and meant as a joke. Now, let's talk about making a yes or no question in the simple future. To do this, start with the form of be. Whichever form matches your subject, that subject comes next, then use going to and the base verb. Here's another example. Are you going to crave a peaceful weekend alone after this intense period of work? Some people have that strong desire for solitude, for being alone, perhaps even after a really busy time or after being around maybe loud environments or many, many people. Now, let's spend a moment looking at some words that are related to our verb crave. And the first word we're going to look at is the noun form here. We're going to look at craving. We talked about this earlier being the progressive form of the verb, and that is true, but it can also be a gerund. And gerunds act like nouns in sentences. So this gerund can describe a powerful desire for something. An example of how you might hear it used in a sentence might be, they're having a craving for chocolate. Okay? That article, the letter A, helps us know that this is the noun form of the word, right? So they have a powerful desire for wanting to consume or eat chocolate. One last word you might encounter is the adjective craveable. This can mean having qualities that lead to this intense or strong and powerful desire for more of something. An example of how you might hear this used in a sentence could be, this restaurant serves the most craveable tacos. I actually saw a sentence similar to this as part of an advertisement, right? So the idea was, or is, right? You want people to think that, oh my goodness, these things are going to be so good that I'm going to have this desire to eat more or eat them again and again. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.